It's Friday. You're in office. You realize it's been exactly 5 years since you started your own company. You think of all the events you've attended.
तुम्हारा पैंट प्रेस हो गया.
And the people who wondered if you even had one. You think of the times you were the one-man payroll department. You think of your very first customer order, the office furniture you paid for, the salaries you skipped, and all the ice cream after bad meetings. You think of all those pitches you made to investors who promised funding but pulled out, to your parents who were supportive but worried, to friends who stopped responding. You think of that one night when you reached the verge of shutting it all down. You thought you've come. For 5 years ago,
Awesome. I hope that tea break was good to fuel you all up. We'll be starting the next session in 2 to 3 minutes. But on popular demand, I was told that folks want another round of the quiz we were doing in the morning. So the rules are very simple. Folks, those of you who are here, raise your hands. Someone will come to you. Do not shout out the answer. You will 100% not get goodies. Raise your hand. Someone will come to you. Give out the answer. If you're right, you get goodies. For those of you who are online, send in your answers, and we'd love to know how many of you are able to get it right as well. Oops, okay. Awesome. So, is which D2C brand had a landmark IPO in India on November 7th, 2023? Which D2C brand IPO'd recently in 2023? Chandni, can we get the mic to the gentleman in the second row here? I'm bad with colors, so I will not state the color of the t-shirt. Let me. Yes, that is the right answer. So Mama Earth is the right answer. Sir, can you tell me your name, your company?
Shivam Agarwal.
Cool. Congrats to Shivam.
Now the mic works.
There I durustay. So next question. All right. Which well-known D2C brand's registered name is Velvet Lifestyle Private Limited? If anyone needs a clue, I'll be happy to give a clue. The clue was the speaker who was here not too long ago. Can you think of which D2C brand that you might have seen? Okay, I see one hand up. The gentleman in the pink shirt, I think it is pink. Sugar? Perfect. The answer is sugar. All right. Yeah, this is a question I like. I see a lot of my friends having this product with them. Which D2C brand launched a new line of luggage in partnership with Indigo? Chandni, right in front of you. Her hand went up first. Right here.
Mokobara.
Amazing. Mokobara is the right answer. They launched the Moko 6E line. At least in the beginning, they were giving extra 5 kgs of check-in baggage. I don't know if they're doing it even now, but that was a pretty kick-ass idea. Awesome. Moving on to the next question. I can see the room is filling up as well. Which company owns well-known brands such as Vincent Chase, John Jacobs, and Owndays? Okay, you. Okay, someone gave the answer. The answer is Lenskart, but no points. Amazing. Okay, this is a special question. Which travel and lifestyle startup focused on quality bags and luggage landed a $2.1 million funding round from Prath Ventures and others in April 2024? The clue is, if anyone needs a clue, the clue is look at your agenda. Maybe one of the sessions that's about to happen has the answer in store for you. Okay,
Nasher Miles.
that is not the right answer. There, Chandni, right there.
Mokobara.
I heard the answer. Someone, the gentleman in the white shirt gets the answer. So, what is your name? I'm currently a Yukon Capital investor to be 70. Perfect. Had to be an investor who cracks the question. Amazing. Moving on to our last question before we kickstart the next panel discussion. This is a fun one. Which D2C brand currently has openings for a sleep internship where all you have to do is sleep deep for 2 months and earn up to 10 lakhs? Yes, the answer is WakeFit. Amazing. With that, I hope you liked our questions. We wanted to curate the best of what is happening in the D2C world and share it with all of you, which now gets us right on track for our next panel discussion. After that session which Aman was talking about, right, where it is so important to identify your target customer, your problem statement, what is that unique insight which you can crack? I'm sure a bunch of smart founders said, all of this is good, but how can we increase the TAM? How can we increase the reach for our products? And that is where all one has to do is look at what some of our friends in the SaaS industry have done, wherein they've constantly relied on make in India, build for the world. If they can do it, so can we. And that's why we've been seeing an increasing number of D2C brands really stretching themselves out, going across the globe, simply because the quality of products that we are shipping, we are building in India is world class. And to unlock how D2C brands can go global, we would love to get started with our next panel discussion. We have a star-studded panel who will be more than happy to share their valuable insights. Please join me in welcoming on stage Mr. Vikas Bagaria, founder and CEO of PSafe, Mr. Sandeep Juneja, Vice President Commercial at DHL Express India, Mr. Shishir Gupta, co-founder of Kalki Fashion, Mr. Anshin Paliwal, VP of Business at Pernia's Pop-Up Shop, Mr. Abhinav Gupta, co-founder and managing director of House of Fet. And to drive the conversation forward, I'd like to call on stage Anuj Maheshwari, VP of Sales at Razorpay. Over to you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Varun. Hello, everyone. It has been quite an insightful day, and thank you for being patient with us. My biggest learning of the day has been that there is a lot to learn. Right? So there have been so many great conversations, so many great things which have been discussed today, and we'll take it a step further. As the name of the session says, from New Delhi to New York, someone outside the room asked me, are you establishing a new corridor between New Delhi and New York? That's not what we are doing. What we mean is from India to the world. Right, so and we have a panel of experts who have done that, who have been there, done that, and are happy to share their insights about how to go global. So for everyone's understanding, for everyone's learning, we will be discussing 4 different themes over here. So to begin with, identifying consumer preferences in other markets, to building consumer trust, to compliance, and the last piece being money movement. So these are, across these 4 themes, we'll be understanding, or we'll be getting insights from our esteemed panel. So with that, I'll get started. So Vikas, my first question is to you. I was reading an article recently from your co-founder which spoke about the products which really did well, the PSafe products which really did well in India, didn't do that well in US, and vice versa. Can you share your learnings?
Of course. By the way, PSafe has products which is first in the world. Many products which, so we are not a Me Too company, you can say that. So having said that, so we actually wanted to sell our toilet seat sanitizer globally. Though this product doesn't exist there, but the challenge was to ship it because it's a dangerous product. You know that how difficult it is to ship dangerous goods through air. So we thought, why not make products which can be used in India, and let's see how those are accepted in Europe. So there was a product called chaffing stick, which more athletes use it. India, we all know that we are not that an outdoor population. So we start focusing those products there in Europe and UK, and they started doing well. And men's intimate wash, for that matter, menstrual cups, because we started manufacturing in India. COVID gave us an opportunity of China plus one. And I think we used it very, very beautifully here in India for our menstrual cups. People don't want to buy a Chinese product, and we started manufacturing in India. I think, so these are the insights, and we also started targeting English-speaking population who were consuming our content in English. I think that's how we started, shipping all those products across the globe.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So my next question is to Shishir. Shishir, I mean, Kalki Fashion is known to start something called Kalki World Tour, right, which you did in multiple cities in US. I mean, from the folks who follow Kalki and have been your customers, I hear phenomenal things from them. I hear your tour was second to just Taylor Swift, right? So that was the popularity of the tour in US. How did you go about creating a tour to identify preferences, and how did you go about executing it, and what were some of your learnings?
So we did the first tour in 2015 when we went online, and when we understood that we want to focus on the international customer, not the domestic customer. So that's the first time we did the exhibition in New York, and that's when we figured that there's a very big market in the US, a lot of Indians staying there. US is so far from India, and people don't want to do the trip. We understood the preferences when their marriages happen, what do they want to buy, how's the weather like. So I've studied in the US, so I understood how the cities work, where are the Indian population. And based on the data that we have, we've been selling online since 2013, majorly in the US. So we understand which cities we have the good clientele. We were able to send out emailers, messages, WhatsApp to all these customers that we are coming to the city. And then we got, obviously from Instagram and various other ways, that which cities we should be going and doing the world tour. Then we did world tour in about 12 cities. I was personally also there. It was a lot of hard work where I had to pack all the bags, move from one city to another, put in the all the crazy stuff. But we got amazing insights from the customer. We figured that there are a lot of not only Indians, but even cross marriages happening in the US, where Chinese are getting married to Indians, Americans are getting married to Indians, maybe a boy, girl, and they don't have that much knowledge about Indian wear. So all this really helped us understand the customer very well, and that's what we keep on learning day in, day out. Obviously, the preferences are very different and the use case is very different for someone in the US versus someone in India. The occasions are very limited for them. So they are not looking for something very extravagant or too fashionable, right? So getting all those insights from the customers is really helping us and grow the brand.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. So moving on to from identifying insights to building customer trust. I mean, building up a brand in India and then taking it global does not necessarily grant you trust from the consumers out there. So Anshan, how did you and your organization go about building trust with the consumers out there abroad?
Yeah. So initially we had started from India only, but when we realized, like Shishir also rightly said, that there are a lot of Indians who reside in US and in every part of the world. So when we realized the potential of this market that we can capture and the gap that existed, because we dealt in Indian fashion designer wares, right, which is not that much available across outside in US, in UK and Canada, which have a populated Indian segment, which are more enthusiastic about wearing these things than we are here in India, because they essentially celebrate all the festivals with much more enthusiasm than we do. So the first thing that I think worked and we were working towards was establishing a communication with them. So although we hear a lot of things right now about integrating AI tools, chatbots and everything, but what we did differently was we set up a team of actual agents who were working 24/7 and addressing all the queries that people were asking, or they had a lot of queries before ordering anything from India. So when we had actual real people answering those queries, we were able to understand the psyche that this customer was having before making that purchase, and then we were able to take accordingly corrective measures to change things around. Queries were like, when will I get my product? If there are any, they are very particular about their returns and refunds and all those policies, because as a customer they don't want to go through your terms and conditions and read that entire thing. They want to interact with someone human. So that bit changed a lot of things for us. And secondly was, we took portals like Trustpilot very seriously. So Trustpilot is essentially a ratings and review portal where it is primarily based out of US, where people go and read about various international businesses. So any rating that a user was giving on Trustpilot where they had a bad experience with us, we took that very seriously and we proactively reached out to that customer in order to make sure that we are fixing their issues and everything. So when a new customer was going and checking out our ratings on Trustpilot, it essentially was building that trust. So at one point of time, we had a rating of 3.8 on Trustpilot, which was very bad. And within 1 year, we worked on it and we tried to basically make it 4.7, 4.8. And that has actually changed a lot of game, because a new user always refers to these kind of portals when they are making a purchase through new brand which they are not aware of. Thirdly is a little bit of flaunting about your physical stores that you have in India, because the presence of a physical store creates that credibility. So if you have a website and if you have a physical store, make sure that a new brand has to showcase that they have a good physical presence in India, because that particular thing will create that credibility in the mind of an international user.
Wow. So if I may summarize, I mean, superlative customer support and having physical presence in India helped you establish trust outside.
Correct.
Awesome. Great. Abhinav, House of Fet has taken global expansion to an altogether different level. I mean, you are there in dozens of countries, right? How did establishing trust change for you depending on how diverse your country mix was, or how diverse the audience was? How did that change, and what did you do to establish trust over there?
So I'll talk about House of Ed, specifically a fashion category.
Sure.
When we take it abroad. So we were offline first and online second. We started in 2018 offline stores. We didn't have much presence online. With everybody, as it happens, in lockdown we came online. 2021 we were expecting to reach the broader India. We were not focused on international. But then we started seeing one very peculiar thing. There were a lot of hits coming on the website from US, Dubai, Bahrain, even though we were not targeting them. So, and people started asking, do you ship internationally? And that was very organic for us. And we said, no, we don't ship internationally because we have never experienced this before. So slowly, steadily, we worked out our way for shipping, for payment solutions. How can we get the payments in-house? Started shipping abroad. But then the challenge happened. So we were doing cottons majorly. Now we shipped cottons. We took orders, shipped the cotton products out. It reached them. It reached US. Now in India, we have helps, house helps. Dhobi hai, aaya, press kiya, ho gaya.
Yep.
They don't have hard presses, right?
Yep.
So cottons are not getting pressed properly. Now they are putting a complaint in saying that, you've shipped a product, now it's not getting pressed properly.
Yeah.
And we said, ma'am, just hard iron, and it'll be pressed. And then we realized, oh, they don't have hard irons. So now we started working around, okay, so what do they need? They cannot work on 100% cotton fabric. So slowly, steadily, we understood the preferences that they have. US would have a very different preference to compare to Dubai. Dubai's sensibilities are more like our fashion sensibilities. They do have those luxury availabilities with them like that we do have, house helps and everything. So that's what we learned, that okay, every region is specific. You have to understand the challenge that that region has. Not only that, so let's say we ship out a product. Now they don't like the product. It has to be exchanged or refunded. That involves a separate cost altogether. It has to come back. There's forward, backward shipment. Then you have to refund the customer. The currency exchanges charges are there. So you have to ensure that when you're shipping the product in India, it's easier. You ship it forward, you take it back. But if you're doing it abroad, there has to be that quality that you can stand behind. Specifically for fashion, there is a lot of market abroad out there because we have been a fashion hub since ages for productions. D2C people have now started to realize that potential. Supply chain is there, branded properly, kind of, I would say, market it in a way which is hyper local. If you're doing it in a US market, make sure they understand the brand ethos. What works in India, don't just copy paste it out there, it might not work. Change the language, change the sensibility, change the communication. Let them understand, okay, this is not a brand that is from India, but this is a brand from India that has a global appeal. That's when they start to accept the product.
Sure.
So that's how we kind of understood the preferences, changed as per the market. Products that we do ship out to Dubai are very different from products that we ship to US. And then leverage out marketplaces that they have, multi-brand outlets that they have, get your placement there, do pop-ups, exhibitions. That really gets the trust factor going. As rightly pointed, that having retail stores is very important. They have the trust factor, okay, you know, there's a brand behind the e-commerce website. This is not a website that's shipping products. They have a multi outlook at the, or at least on the Indian level.
Okay.
And when you do these exhibitions now, a lot of them are happening in fashion space. In Dubai, a lot of them are happening, and they are very good to get your product out in the target clientele.
Sure, sure. I mean, out of curiosity, have any of you at any point in time explored resellers in other countries who can actually represent you so that it gives your consumers more confidence, and because in your case, pharmacies and other such places. So have you explored such partnerships outside?
No, so we have divided our business into two different categories. One is the developed countries and other is the developing countries.
Sure.
So for all the developed countries, we only worked online. So we were one of the first for Amazon Propel. We were doing long before when Sambhav happened and they took us global around 17, 18. We were selling on Amazon website by shipping the product to an importer on records to those geographies, North America, Europe and UK. But for developing countries, we just like an Indian distribution system, we found distributors who were distributed for say FMCG products, which is beauty or cosmetics or sanitary products. And it was all inbound inquiries for us because we only targeted English-speaking countries, primarily. So Nepal, we started with Nepal, we started with Bangladesh because they consume a lot of Indian social media. And then we had Africa, because we participated in few of the exhibitions. I think was needed there. We never went to Dubai because I was talking to, I think you, that Dubai population for us is 1/4 of South Delhi, right? The consumers. So we focus Saudi Arabia, where we now have around 800 retail points through which we sell. So we always have to select market where it's easy to sell online versus where you can sell offline. And if you can sell offline, get hold of some distributor who buy your product completely ex-stock basis, ex-works basis, pay you in advance, and they do all your marketing. I think that's the best business. So, by the way, my product costs around 300 rupees average value. So I have to, have my money back before I ship it. So it worked very well for us.
Sure. Makes sense. Moving on to the next piece, which is compliance, being on the right side of the line. I think Sandeep, I mean, being one of the largest players in the logistics industry, I mean, a large part of compliance would fall into your kitty, working with brands, advising them, helping them understand what does compliance mean, because most of us are aspirational, right? We do something in India, we think it can be done everywhere, right? Finding consumer insights and other things are one thing. I mean, this is highly, highly technical. So your experience dealing with compliance when it comes to cross-border trade.
पहला तो I think thank you guys for coming back in. मुझे लग रहा था पता नहीं कौन आएगा, जब अमन बाहर गया सभी बाहर चले गए थे. So for those of you who come back in, Thank you very much. और generally जब when I'm doing this event, मैं तो 20-25 लोग बाहर छोड़े होते हैं जो पकड़ के लोग अंदर ले आते हैं, right? So, but nevertheless, the hall looks fairly full. So पहला, as you must have heard, logistics is not a sexy business, and then compliance is even more next to that. So, but I'll talk about compliance. Okay, so we are a $90 billion company. And when I'm talking in India, I like to talk in crores only, but thoda bada amount tha, but I'll tell you $1 billion is about 8,300 crores. We are a $90 billion company. We have more than 600,000 people who work for DHL. Now, just to set a context, or it may look like I'm branding कर रहा हूँ company की, but वो reason नहीं है. But there are 4 things which keep us awake at night, which we know that these 4 things, if they don't happen, it will bring us to our knees. The first is complacency. मैं आगे चलता हूँ. All of you know what complacency is all about. Second is cyber attacks. Cyber attacks ने companies को बर्बाद कर दिया, right? The third is safety. Safety in my environment of the people who work for me, right? And I have 600,000 plus people who work for me. If something goes bad, my company will come to its knees. And the fourth is compliance. So अगर कोई 4 चीज़ें हमें सारी रात जगा के रखती हैं, वो 4 चीज़ें. And when I'm telling you this, I really mean it in every meeting that we have internally. Every meeting. 10 लोग, 15 लोग, 20 लोग, 50 लोग, 200 लोग, 500 लोग, 1000 लोग. We start with safety and we end with compliance. Because क्या है ना, ये thoughts जो है ना, ये कहने में आसान होते हैं. But जब आप 100 लोगों की, 200 लोगों की, 500 लोगों की, 1000 लोगों की कंपनी या 25 लोगों की कंपनी रन करते हो ना, तो आप सोचते हो कि मुझे compliance से काम करना है. But last man standing नहीं सोचता है. उसे जल्दी करना है काम. बट कुछ चीज़ें हैं जो आप कॉम्प्रोमाइज़ नहीं कर सकते. कंप्लायंस इज वन ऑफ देम. एंड देयरफॉर लोगों के दिमाग में घुसाएं कैसे कंप्लायंस. स्टार्ट एंड सेफ्टी. मैं 4 चीज़ें बोली, बट स्टार्ट एवरी मीटिंग विद सेफ्टी. दिस इज व्हाट वी डू. एंड एंड एवरी मीटिंग विद सम थॉट ऑन कंप्लायंस. मेरा सीईओ भी बात कर रहा होगा ना, कोई भी बात कर रहा होंगे. 1 थॉट ऑन सेफ्टी, 1 ऑन कंप्लायंस. सो जस्ट टू सेट अ कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑन कंप्लायंस. अभी क्रॉस बॉर्डर में आते हैं. अभी क्रॉस बॉर्डर में कंप्लायंस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, राइट? आई गो एंड मीट बिजनेस पीपल हु टेल मी कि बॉस सब कुछ कर लूँगा. ये नहीं है कि रात को फैमिली के साथ सो रहा हूँ और कोई मुझे कस्टम्स का नोटिस आ जाए या ईडी आ जाए और मुझे उठा करके ले जाए. वो नहीं है. टैक्स ज़्यादा दे दूंगा, आई विल फील बैड कि बहुत पैसे कट गए, लेकिन रात को नींद तो अच्छी आती है ना. सो आई थिंक दैट्स द कॉन्टेक्स्ट ऑन कंप्लायंस. ओके, नाउ व्हेन यू डू क्रॉस बॉर्डर, इट्स वेरी इजी. लाइक आई ड्रेस अप इन द मॉर्निंग, आई वेयर माई ट्राउजर, शर्ट, जैकेट, व्हाट्सएवर, टाइटन माई बेल्ट. When you're doing cross border, these are 4 boxes to be ticked. You tick those boxes every day, you look nice and proper when you walk out of the house. I'm comparing it with dressing up, and you are compliant, right? Fact of the matter is, when you are shipping out of India, and let me come back to cross-border e-commerce, you are not shipping samples. You are shipping commercial shipments. God damn it, treat them like commercial shipments. There are many people who say कि मैं आपके US में ड्यूटी बचा दूंगा. मैं इंडिया में आप एडी कोड मत दो. एडी कोड इज लाइक वेयरिंग अ बेल्ट, बाय द वे. ये बहुत जरूरी है. आई विल नॉट गेट इन टेक्निकल्स, बट वंस यू टिक द बॉक्सेस, एज सिंपल एज दैट, राइट? बट यू स्टिक टू देम एंड यू हैव टू बी पैरानॉइड, सेइंग बॉस कंप्लायंस थिंग्स विच मैटर, मैं उसको छोड़ूंगा नहीं. दैट्स इन विद इन इंडिया. एंड नाउ व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इज विद इन इंडिया, द मोमेंट यू गेट कंप्लायंट, बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट की, I was just about to use some words which Aman was using. I got so inspired. I was going to say भटी हुई है, but let me not use it. But government is very concerned कि उन्हें exports बढ़ाने हैं, and they know that if they have to increase the merchandise exports from India, e-commerce has to play a very big role in that. And therefore, the moment you become compliant, you'll realize there are many benefits which start coming back to you. And if you want to, discuss about some new age models of supply chain where you earn more benefits because of the government schemes, we can chat obviously offline on that. So that's the compliance part within India. Dress up well, do it nicely, and the importance of compliance. But what makes the puzzle even more complicated is, when you're in cross-border e-commerce, which is what, I'm discussing here, and we'll discuss about the opportunity later, how do you service the compliance needs in hundreds of countries, And I think that is where forums like this, companies like ours, we come in the picture, right? Because we are supposedly, and I'm saying supposedly because we are also continuously evolving, learning at all times, working with millions of clients globally, serving these compliance needs, consulting them, and therefore it may come down to a small window saying that, if I am in cross-border e-commerce, can I work with 1, 2, 3 or 4 organizations which allow me a window to 200 plus countries in a compliant manner and make it easy for me? As they say, and if I mean, as I'm speaking, it is coming to me that, okay, I'll quote the line saying, simple is harder than complex. Simple is harder than complex. Therefore, compliance world is pretty complex. But today, I think organizations have evolved, and I work for one such organization which believes in making complex things simple. So I think, yeah, compliance is important. God damn it, you have to be compliant. In India, you go 200 plus countries. There are easy methods to single 2, 3, 4 windows to become compliant. And there are ecosystem partners like you, me, and some of the great founders sitting here who will vouch for that, that things are far more simple and staying compliant is the name of the game.
Sure. Makes sense. Thanks a lot for this, Sandeep. This was very, very insightful. Vikas, for you, compliance has an additional meaning as well, right? I mean, you ship healthcare / hygiene products, which in some jurisdictions comes under either FDA or something else. So what does compliance mean to you? And how do you go about solving for that?
यार अगर मैं 22 कंट्री में यहाँ से भेजता हूँ with the multiple of online and through distribution, I think I have to follow and I think everyone has to follow the rule of the land. जिस कंट्री में आपके प्रोडक्ट जा रहे हैं वहाँ का क्या रूल है उस प्रोडक्ट के बारे में, you have to follow that. I think every country has a different way of importing products because my product goes on your body. You consume, right? It's not like fashion which you wear. So ours is completely regulated by either FDA, either food and drug, or either chemical exposure, either plastic waste management, a lot of things which we need to take care of it. So first and foremost हम देखते हैं कि जो हमारी पैकिंग है उसके ऊपर किस तरह का लेबल एक्ट होता है उस पर्टिकुलर कंट्री में. तो वी फॉलो दैट्स द फर्स्ट वन बिकॉज दैट्स वी हैव टू सेंड इट टू देम. Of course, AD code is important because that's record your exports. So on the banking side, we have to be very careful that कि हमारे payment within that stipulated period आ रहे हैं नहीं आ रहे हैं. Because that is also compliance. आप सामान भेज दिए, आपके payment 9 महीना बाद आ रहे हैं, then RBI आपको डंडा करेगा, right? Chemicals कौन सा use कर रहे हो? So when we started, we only focused to those countries जहाँ पर English language में आपके product बिक सकते हैं. Now, when we have taken the scale, we have started translating the product. So, if you are selling into Europe, you need German, French, and Italian and Spanish. 4 language along with English. English नहीं भी चलेगा, but 4 language आपको चाहिए उसके ऊपर. आप UAE में भेज रहे हैं. If you are selling offline, then you need to have Arabic. If you are selling online, you can do with English. So, these are the few things which you really need to know. Now, with scale, our toilet seat sanitizer, because it's very expensive to ship. So we have started manufacturing locally in Europe and US so that it becomes very easy. All the compliance comes through that manufacturers. So we take compliance very seriously because it's easy for our product to get sued when they are using on your body. So for a company like us, for a beauty and beauty care or for that matter hygiene, I think compliance सबसे पहले उसके बाद सब कुछ. Otherwise you won't able to sell product.
Sure. Sounds good. So, great. I mean, we have discussed consumer insights, consumer trust. We have discussed compliance. It's time to get the money back to India, right? So let's talk about money movement. My question is to Shishir, to Anshan, as well as Abhinav. I mean, all of you are into relatively higher ticket items, right? I mean, what kind of payment trends do you see? In terms of methods, are cards more dominant in the geographies where you sell? Do you see bank transfers? Do you see alternate payment methods like PayPal and other things? So what kind of things do you see over there, and how do you prep yourself for such?
Yeah. So like when we started selling online, PayPal and Stripe were not available in India. And so we actually set up a company in the US, and then the US company was actually accepting the payments and sending it back to India, and there was a lot of tax involved in it. Now the process is much more simpler now that PayPal, Stripe, Razorpay is there, who are able to accept payments from international countries, so it's much more simplified. But so like that, initially we also had other ways of making the payment. We also tried COD in the US. So that was something that we tried initially, but people did not understand COD there. So then we had to stop it. But I think now pay later is something which is coming up very big in India, and even internationally a lot of people prefer to pay later They have their own companies doing that. So we are seeing that Apple Pay is very prominent for apps that we are using. So we always try to be ahead of the game. Whatever the customer prefers, we try to make it easy for the customer to make the purchase. And looking forward to try Razorpay as well. So we are always there to try out different products, see what works, and that's about it.
Sure.
So, would you like to go? So when we started out, the only way to accept international payment was PayPal. The main problem that we were facing was 5-7 odd working business days to settle the payments. And that too, not everybody in every country was using PayPal. Now we were getting stuck there. So that's when we partnered with Razorpay actually. The first question I had was, do you accept international payments? And you guys said T plus 1 or 2 days to settle the payment. We're like, great. Now we can, scale it forward. The best part of expanding outside is high ticket price. They know they are paying for the shipment. If they order 2 products, let's say they order 3, 4, shipping doesn't vary that much. The bulk goes into the first product itself. So 2,800 if they're taking from India to US, whatever the ballpark figure is. So 2,800 for 2 products or 3 products. So they end up eventually buying more. So that's the best part about it. Again, they are a little more mature as consumers. So of course, plastic money is there. They do not understand the concept of, as you said, COD or anything. Very transparent in dealing. So it's easier kind of to get a trust built there. And of course, Razorpay has helped to get the shortened payment time. So,
Sure.
Yeah. So for us, since I think the ticket price is way higher than a lot of usual products, most of the times that people prefer paying is through credit cards because no one want to deploy their actual savings money into these kind of things. They get better offers on their cards and everything. So credit card is the preferred mode. And when it comes to either they use PayPal or any other payment gateway or PayPal account as such, internationally, if we are talking about US, customers definitely want to prefer PayPal just because of how PayPal is safeguarding the customer by giving like that easier option of raising a chargeback. And when you are at the seller side, I think most of us know what a nightmare a chargeback is. And so that is the first part. And one more thing that happens because we ship primarily to almost 150 countries. So PayPal, like you said, is not there in every country. But any country outside of US, people prefer to pay in that particular currency. Like anyone based out of Australia wants to pay in Australian dollar. Anyone who is based out of, let's say, Kuwait or something, they want to pay in that currency, South African dollars. When we ask them that can you pay in US dollars, they are not very comfortable about it. So integrating multiple currencies is again another factor that can help you boost your business. So that's it.
Awesome. I have a lot many other questions, but at the same time, I think we are at time. So feel free to reach out to the panel. I mean, as long as they're available out here, feel free to ask your questions. But thanks a lot, everyone. I mean, it was a really, really insightful conversation. I think many of us in the room now understand some of the challenges and some of the things which one needs to do while taking their brand global. Thank you.
Hello. Can we have the photographer here, please? On the stage, main stage.
Because we don't want Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much, folks. Once again, a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. As someone who comes from a family business background where we've been doing export for the last, I think, 35 years, I can so relate to the pain points we were talking about, be it money movement, managing compliances. My dad still gets the headaches because of it. So if there's any budding entrepreneurs who are thinking of good problem statements, please reach out to me. I can give you a tip or two on this regard. Awesome. Moving on to the next session. Again, this is a super, super special session. And I wanted to sort of set context, and I was thinking about how best can we go about doing this, right? And that's where it struck me. For people like you and me, what we are told is the bare essentials in life are roti, kapda, makan, right? At least that's what we're told. We also need Wi-Fi, electricity, air conditioning because of the summer. But for D2C startups, at the point which we are at, and the way we are, at the pace which we are growing, I would probably rebrand this to Roti, Kapda and Shopify. Simply because of how ubiquitous an online shopfront is for companies to succeed. And an online shopfront is really where customers really get to know your brand, interact with your products, and eventually make that purchase decision. So who better to learn all about winning strategies for your Shopify store than Bharti Balakrishnan, Country Head and Director, Shopify India and SEA, in our next fireside chat, moderated by Rahul Kothari, CEO of Razorpay. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome them on stage with a huge round of applause. I've also been told I'm a little more omnipresent right now, so the folks outside can hear me loud and clear. If you're outside, now's a great time to head back inside because this session's going to be amazing. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Hello, I think everybody seems to be kind of pretty low on energy, given it's almost 6. Hello everyone. Hello. Great, good to hear. Thank you Bharti for coming down.
Thank you for having me. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon.
So Bharti, as we start this session, I can't help but think about like almost about a year back, we had discussion on D2C itself. What are things we can do to increase the, say, our acquisition of customers, retention, what are different strategies, what are trends in the D2C segment going on? And it was really an amazing discussion. I wanted to ask, like, over that last 1 year, in your view, what are some of the key trends you are seeing changing in the D2C world? At the same time, also, it would be great if you can give us some sneak peek on what are some of the new things Shopify is building or thinking about, what are some of the new trends you are kind of looking to ride on?
Yeah, no, we are very lucky to sit in a seat where we get to see how merchants are behaving across countries. So I'm sure in today's sessions, Rahul, quick commerce has already come up many times. Yes. So I won't repeat that. What I'll try and tell you is what we're seeing globally is this idea of unified commerce. So when we follow our customers, they typically start with us online, they set up a website, but increasingly we see them go offline, set up stores and do retail. So they want to see a single customer view across their stores and online, and we definitely see that in India as well. The second thing we see is they're also getting into offline distribution. So it may not be their full assortment, it may be a part, it may be some regions, not the full country they operate in, but they're definitely digitizing how they go offline. That's a big trend we're seeing. And the third is, in the case of certain categories in certain countries, we're seeing cross-border. More on the premium side, or where a country has a supply advantage, we're seeing them ship to many countries. Now, all three are very complex and very big, alongside doing your D2C. So this idea of unified commerce, which is really the secret sauce of how you run the back office, can change how you show up in front of a customer, is a big focus for us.
Oh, no, that's great. And I think maybe, as you said, each of these trends are in itself quite deep. So I will probably pick each one of those and ask some of the questions. So, yeah, of course, I spoke about unicommerce. I think it has come full circle. There was a time when everybody, they were selling offline and they wanted to go online.
Yeah.
In fact, in last 1 year itself, we have seen several brands who are online and now going offline, Mukobara and a lot of those brands. In your view, what is fundamentally driving this behavior? Is it about like, okay, customers really want it where they want to say, touch and feel and then go back and buy online? Or is it like more of a TAM expansion strategy for these businesses? What is really driving it in your view?
Yeah, I think very simply it's following your customer. And the answer is very different based on two things: which category you operate in and which segment you're after. And this is very important because otherwise it'll feel like you have to do everything. right? So when we talk about omni-channel, if you look at some of our North American countries where we're very big, right, in North America or in the West, we talk about click and collect, right? Obviously, that is not a concept that is used much in our markets, right? But shipping from store is very important here. So again, if you talk about quick commerce, I always say, look, if you're selling a biscuit, you probably want to have your website, but hopefully you're not relying on your website to deliver sales, because that's not how consumers buy biscuits. They buy it as part of a basket, right? So there is a role for the website, which is really being your billboard, being able to help you experiment, go direct to consumer, collect data, figure out what SKUs are working, etc. But it is not really ever going to be 80% of your sales unless you're selling a gold biscuit or something, right? So just going back to the basics of who is your customer, which category are you operating in, and which segment are you operating in. For example, Rahul, in India, the cross-border business we see growing is really premium brands selling to the India diaspora, right? Now, that translates to, typically I always say if you're in fashion and you're selling a product for more than 2,500 rupees, you're unlikely selling on the marketplaces a lot. You're probably doing it for awareness, but if you don't get your website strategy right, you're not going to be able to build a brand. And that segment then translates really well to selling globally. So we see a lot of brands from India, for example, in the premium fashion segment, sell cross-border into the Gulf, into Canada, into Australia, US, and so on. So you have to pick the category and pick the segment before you decide which of this mix works for you.
Yeah, no, this is great, and I think I will dive deeper into this entire cross-border as well later. But again, I have one more question. You made a statement, follow your customer. I think it's way easier said than done, and I can tell you many people in this room will align with it, right? And why say it, right? Like, there are multiple channels for a D2C brand to sell. It could be online, it could be offline, your own website, or on the marketplaces. And you said like you should have your website for brand presence. See, almost every D2C company wants to get their customers directly on the website. In fact, I was reading somewhere, I think one was D2C companies, which had spent, I think, almost 80% of their overall marketing spends on direct website, but they got less than 25% of their overall volume, the overall traffic. But still they wanted to kind of go for it. Now it's a very costly affair for them. Marketplaces are easier, convenient, etc. Offline, while you want to give a great experience to your customer, it's again a fairly expensive thing, right? The back-end processes has to be integrated, etc. So how would you think, like how a D2C company should think about it, right? Because there are different kind of priorities, different forces pulling them in different directions.
Yeah, 100%. And also I would add to that it depends on what kind of brand you are. I know this room is full of brands probably being built from 0 to 1, 1 to 10, but actually a majority of our book today is traditional brands who've been around forever, who are taking their brand.com seriously. And their challenges are very different, and their starting point is very different, right? But going back to your question, I think we live in a world where your website is your window to every channel you operate in. That has happened. COVID has accelerated it and cemented it. So I always think of this as a discovery and delivery problem. 100 out of 100 times, your website today is involved in a purchase decision. You may not eventually purchase on a website. You may walk into a store. You may walk into an MBO. You may go to a marketplace. So for every brand, at least from a discovery perspective, day one, a website is important. How you build scale on the website goes back to what I said before, which is which segment are you targeting and which category are you in, and what is the role of website as a channel in that. Now, there are many FMCG brands that retail on Shopify. Their objective is to speak directly to consumers, which they don't get to do because a majority of their business happens in general trade, where they don't get first-party data, right? So they will try different SKUs, they will try a particular region. Increasingly, a lot of regional FMCG brands are digitizing their B2B operations through a Shopify website.
Wow.
So with Shopify Plus now, you can put all your dealers, retailers, wholesalers, distributors on a login and really show them special payment terms, special this, which really changes how working capital is moving in your supply chain, and what does velocity look like for your brand, how your brand can build share with an end distributor. And I can bet today there are many founders sitting here, Rahul, who get emails from some random wholesaler in some part of India saying, please, sir, give me your product I want to sell. And you don't have the bandwidth. You should use technology today for that, right? Coming to building scale on your website, I have seen many brands now built in India, and globally, certainly, there are several examples where if you are building brand first in what I would say in India arguably is a premium segment, your website can beat marketplaces on scale, right? The one thing that I feel good founders do with your website is there is the art of it, which is your everywhere, but there is the science of it, which is what is the repeat in your category? How much is going to come from an existing customer? What's your plan for, let's say you're growing 30% month on month. How much of that is going to come from existing customers? What is the remarketing you're investing in the form of technology and not dollars to get that business? I'll give you a simple example. Really good home and lifestyle brands will build a newsletter subscription base from day zero, okay? Over time, suddenly on Shopify, when you open your dashboard, you're sitting on 20,000 customers who have subscribed to your newsletter, and then just getting a sliver of them to buy from you for free means you've released dollars to go acquire the next set of customers. That could come from a marketplace, that could come from a distributor relationship, that could just come from spending more on performance. So that is the science of it, having a very tight plan on what role you want your website to play as a sales channel, so you can actually open up resources for other channels.
Oh, that's great, Bharti. I think what I understand you're saying, like, irrespective whether your traffic, the end purchase would happen either on your website or on a marketplace, your website is an very important asset to build that brand, to build customer loyalty, and even like the decision of purchase said in most cases, in fact more often than not, would be happening on the website, irrespective whether they are buying on a marketplace and sometimes in offline as well. I think that's a very good insight. Also, I think in one point you mentioned that a lot of brands are looking at selling globally. Now, when we look at some of the developed countries, US, Australia, you would see a lot of D2C brands which are like a standalone D2C brand. They are not present on the marketplaces and they are kind of out there. In India, we rarely see that happening. What do you think are the reasons for that?
Yeah, so two questions there, right? Like, why are there fewer D2C first brands or D2C only brands in India? There are many D2C first brands. Personally, having been a merchant, I just think it goes back to margin economics, right? So to build an order value at X rupees and then have enough margin left to pay for performance marketing and build a base and then have enough money left for COGS and logistics and then build that at scale, I think that's where most brands sort of struggle to scale this channel, right? Now, remember that a market like the US has been selling into big box retail for many, many years. So those margins are actually set. You can't be in big box retail in North America if you're not selling at 4x COGS, right? When you take that margin structure and you translate it to D2C, you're not solving for this problem. You're solving for awareness, you're solving for consideration, you're solving for what role this channel plays. So I feel that is a big reason why we're still early on this journey. And as we premiumize in many, many categories, this answer will keep changing. Because at the end of the day, you cannot build a brand or a marketplace. And that's just how consumer behavior is. Coming to your cross-border problem, I feel that if I look at the examples of really successful cross-border brands, and like from China, we put out many, many brands that build out significantly high revenues to the world. Anchor is a great example. Do go check out the Anchor case study if you'd like on the Shopify website. There aren't so many yet from India, and I think it boils down to having clarity on, are you building a global brand for Indian diaspora or are you building a global brand? And the fact is that today we have more brands that are selling to a diaspora, and that's not a bad thing. It's just a smaller market than selling to the rest of the world. And when you sell to the rest of the world, you have to go back to, okay, what am I building today that really is serving the rest of the world from India, right? And there are categories like Ayurveda is a very positive connotation with India. We have many brands that actually sell globally in that category. I'd say Vadam has done a great job of transcending beyond being just an Indian diaspora brand, or never was really, but I'd love to see more.
Sorry, can you clarify once, what do you mean when you say the difference between a global brand or a global brand looking at selling globally?
Right, so a global brand that's selling to Indian diaspora is like a lot of our fashion designers, right? So folks like Masaba, Raw Mango, AMPM, Hemant Nandita, a lot of fashion designers are really selling to the global diaspora. A brand like Vadam, I'd say, is just built from India for the world, because we export, I think, the most tea, if not the second highest, and we deserve to own a brand that's built from India for the world. And I'm sure there's many, many more like that. But it's still early days.
But Bharti, still I'm not clear, right? Like you said, we need absolute clarity if the D2C brands need to kind of really focus on the Indian diaspora or build brands that need to go globally. It's just a matter of focus, or it's also a matter of the economics in terms of the brands get built in India, how easy or difficult from an economics perspective to take it out of India versus like global, as you said, the brands outside India having good enough margin, etc., to come out to India and other countries.
No, actually, I think if we find the right positioning, the economics actually work in our favor, building from India to the world. But the question is, what is the purpose of that brand? What is the positioning? So I'll give you an example. If I said to you, there's a new fashion brand from Italy shipping all over the world, you would assume that's a great idea, right? Because we all know fashion and Italy go together. So what are those moats from India for the world, and what are the brands being built in that moat, and why is it naturally then our right to win? Is still early days. I think some brands are doing a great job, but it's still early days.
So your advice would be like more like, because one of the questions going to kind of ask, what would be the best practices that you would be advising the founders if they want to build a brand that where they want to kind of take it globally? So you would say it is primarily the focus, getting the brand right, getting the focus right.
Yeah,
and also be sure whether the category is right for going global or not.
Correct. Yeah, I think what is your right to win with a global consumer is very important to answer, right? Like there are great brands built globally, like Secret Lab from Singapore to the world that does gaming chairs. Now, is there a reason why Singapore should build a gaming chair brand? I'm not so sure, but they've built a very sharp brand around it being Secret Lab, right? Or there's definitely many electronics brands from China. I'm sure there's users of Keychron in this room. Keychron ships globally really well. It's a crazy, obsessed fan community that likes Keychron. So surely that kind of brand can be built from India. I haven't seen too many yet.
Yeah, great. Makes sense. Now, going back to the first point that you mentioned, right, also on the quick commerce. You're right, like today, almost every category is getting into quick commerce. We see iPhones, we see PlayStations, of course, daily use food items, etc., getting into quick commerce. While understand there is competition from D2C, for D2C players, from marketplaces, in certain sense, as a channel, quick commerce is a very different ball game, right? Like it's even more, in my mind, even more difficult to kind of, provide the same level of convenience, same level of service as quick commerce. How do you think D2C companies should be thinking about whether they should be kind of saying, okay, quick commerce is yet another channel, kind of go with it, or somewhere they should be trying to solve problem from a different perspective, whether from service perspective, price perspective? What's your sense? And also, what's the trend you are seeing?
Yeah, it's a tough question. I haven't been a merchant for a while, Rahul. So my answer might be a bit dated, but I think it's, honestly, right now the platform is dictating what will sell on the platform. Right? So there's the obvious categories in food, which if you're building a food brand, please be in quick commerce. It's definitely already a material part of the market. But if you're in fashion, right, how do you figure out if there's a play there? Let's say you're selling T-shirts. Should you be there? Should you not? I think today the platform is dictating that. So I would say build a great relationship with the platform and figure out what their strategy is and make sure you're the first brand that's picked if that category picks up. There is a world in which we're all going to be shipping everything in 2 hours, but there is a race to what we call in retail velocity of SKU, right? There's only so much space for so many SKUs in each warehouse, and you've got to be the SKU that makes it, and the platform's determining that right now. So stay close and watch the action is what I'd say.
No, I think that makes sense. And in fact, in one of the earlier sessions, there was some discussion like, you can use this platform to advantage to build your brand. Like you can be probably one of the first one to be on the quick commerce. Like in first 6 months, you become a strong brand, and then you kind of go to direct channels. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
In the right categories at the right price point again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now switching gears, I would come a little bit towards payments. In your view, how, and you almost spoke about the B2B experience where lending and cash flow management becomes important.
Yeah.
But in your view, for D2C brands, how, like, of course, we are a fintech company, payments, and from our perspective, I think payments are quite critical. But what is your view? What are some of the common payments challenges that the D2C brands face? Some of the challenges you think still are unsolved, and as ecosystem players, we should be focusing a lot more on solving about?
Yeah, it's, I don't know if I'm qualified to answer a payments question in this room, I'll give it a shot. Look, I feel genuinely a lot of the forward, like placing order payments challenges are fairly solved today. There's always things that can get better, but I feel at this point they're incremental. I feel the real challenge when I speak to many brand entrepreneurs is they have no visibility on what are the cash flows, where are they coming. It's very hard to put together. And if you're a small shop trying to like sort of, put this answer together and figure out, okay, I might have made 20% EBITDA, but did I really make cash flows this month? It's a real, it's probably 3 days. I'm sure every founder here is spending one full weekend, sort of putting this together in the first week of the following month. Yeah. This has got to get easier. This is the kind of intelligence that should drive good business decisions, which I think many people struggle with today because the data lies in too many different places. So one of the things we're seeing with our B2B product is actually that. So imagine like a set of retailers, we see a lot of, for example, if there's an extending distribution use case. In India, there are a lot of brands who are very strong in the south and west, right, in distribution, but they're not really looking at east seriously. Even an established brand is not looking at the east seriously. But you're getting inbound, and sometimes it actually adds up. There are wholesalers, retailers writing to you. So just setting up a simple website with B2B terms, payment terms, shipping terms, pricing terms, and making it available means that this guy who used to order, kurtas from Jaipur once in 3 months sitting in Coimbatore and selling them is now going to order every week. And the fact that it makes it every week means he's going to order more from you and your share of wallet with him is going to grow. And I think that kind of visibility actually helps both the OEM and the retailer make better business decisions. So if payments companies could do more to give better, more transparent visibility on where money is moving within the business, I feel as a merchant I would value it.
You're seeing more from a B2B perspective.
I mean, every transaction outside is a B2B transaction, right? So I'm collecting 10 transactions today, okay? But I've done 20 transactions in the store. By the way, in the store, some people have paid on my POS, some people have paid in cash, some people have paid through a Paytm QR code or something. There are 3 different accounts that this is coming into. And then I have 3 returns that have come back in B2C, which I have to settle. One has gone into exchange, and I can only account for it once it's been delivered and accepted. And putting this together is several spreadsheets often, which really should be better than that.
No, makes sense. In fact, I was about to ask really the next question. What are things that Shopify and Razorpay can solve for? Is this answer something we should be kind of looking for? Or do you think there's something more short-term in nature which probably would be able to, in 6 to 12 months, we can solve for, which is really meaningful?
I think checkout is going to keep getting better. Shopify, we put out something called editions every 6 months. We put out a bunch of stuff on checkout again. I know we're working with you closely on improving checkout in the market. It's a very dynamic space. So while I feel today that we have solved it together, Rahul, I'm sure 6 months from now, we will be solving something more on it. But I would definitely say beyond that, think of this merchant today who's sitting in India. They've maybe gotten to 1 crore a month or so on their website. They're starting to sell on the marketplaces. They've got that stuff going on. And then they're trying to scale offline with their stores as well as distribution. And depending on who they are, they might be considering shipping globally. So to the extent that we can make this a unified single window view, to make trying these things easy for the merchant, I think there's a lot of work to be done there. So, shipping cross-border, for example, means making decisions around taxes, making decisions around where your inventory is going to lie. If it's food, it can't even lie here and be shipped cross-border most of the time. If it's fashion with a high margin, a lot of guys do that till they catch scale, right? So making some of these things easy and unified, I think there's a lot to do there to help merchants.
Makes sense. So this is like an interesting proposition. Now, Bharti, I'm going to ask you kind of a little bit more difficult questions. I think sometimes, so logistic aggregation is probably one of the important challenges for D2C brands and small businesses. Shopify sometime back kind of pulled this offering back. Do you think it was a customer-first decision from your, rather business or a merchant-first decision from your perspective, or was it more of the economics of it which kind of made you this decision?
So you're talking about the fulfillment business in the US that we divested in a couple of years back? Yeah, I think our founder and CEO Toby spoken about it a lot. I think like any other company, we're, especially as a public listed company, we're making decisions on how we allocate capital all the time. And this was one of those decisions. And best is to go read what Toby said on it. Whether brands should solve for fulfillment being in multiple places as a D2C brand, I mean, what does that really mean, right? Like, let's take a look. Tomorrow, if you're selling on a quick commerce platform and your customer is getting the product in 10 minutes, the immediate question you want to ask yourself is, hey, my website needs to deliver in 10 minutes. Rahul, the problem is not the technology, right? The technology is there even today. The problem is where your inventory sits and whether that makes sense for you as a business. So the question is, even if someone were to make this infrastructure available, and let's say a great logistics company is able to do that, does it really make sense for you at your scale as a brand to have distributed inventory in multiple places to meet this promise to the customer? I mean, the way quick commerce works today, just to do Bangalore would need more than like 2 distribution points, right?
Yeah.
So I think that is the harder question. And look, any brand here who has actually worked in retail and run shop-in-shops knows this problem very well, right? You can't get into a big department store unless you're doing 20, 40, 50 doors, and you can at least have a SKU assortment set that is, able to fill 200 square feet of space. Now, the problem with getting into 20, 30, 40 doors is you don't actually know what is going to work. You do all the math, you find all the data, but the fact is at the end of this, you have 40 distribution points where your inventory is distributed. Can I ship that inventory in like 2 seconds or whatever? Of course I can. There's technology today. But how are you going to be able to afford leaving distributed inventory like that for a brand is the deeper question a brand has to answer.
Oh, sure. Makes sense. We're almost getting to the end of the time. I have one last question before we open for Q&A. Like we have several, I think in the afternoon we had a show of hands and almost 70 to 80% people here are the founders of the D2C companies. What are, say, a few pieces of advice you would have for them, like when they, say, at a early or middle stage of their company in the growth, that they should be keeping in mind to make sure that business scales and grows in the right way? And again, I'm asking because you interact with so many different brands.
Yeah, I can tell you what I see from successful entrepreneurs. I'd rather share what I see there. I feel like be very hands-on with your Shopify store. I think there's a mindset sometimes, I see many founders start their store and then over time, you don't find time to be hands-on. The reason I say that is there is a real opportunity today with AI and more to build businesses that are truly efficient and don't scale costs as you scale revenues. The way to do that is with technology, and you can't do that if you're not staying hands-on on your store and seeing what's happening. It sounds trivial and tactical, but it's really important. Simple example, we put out something called Sidekick. I don't know if anyone's seen it in Shopify Editions. It's rolling out. It's literally a sidekick. You can go to it and say, hey, can you set up a red t-shirt sale at 20% discount next week for me on Tuesday? And you can automate that process, right? Or how you do flows or how you create customer delight. There's so many little things that you can do that make sure you don't scale costs as you scale revenues, that the answer to that is staying hands-on. Bigger picture, I feel like similarly with tools, focus on loyalty. It gets lost in the challenge of managing where most of your capital is going, which is performance. A founder once told me, every week on Monday, I look at how much of my money across tools as well as spend went into remarketing. And that is a true indicator to me of whether I'm spending my capital well, right? Having a real strong goal for what business is coming free or organically or through repeat or through driving loyalty is, I cannot underline how important that is, right? Every order matters because every dollar saved is something you can put back into growing the business where it needs. And unfortunately, with all the distractions of scaling fast, sometimes we lose sight of that. So that is something that really stayed with me, that one of a big flower delivery founder actually in Malaysia told me once. The third is, I would say that in India often, I feel personally, there's a lot of noise to do everything. It's worth going back to who is your customer, what is the category, what is the price point, and what do you really need to grow, right? Like doing the math on breaking that down. Like if you're doing 2 crores a month now, 20% next month is 40 lakhs. Break that down into how much is coming from repeat, how much has to come from other channels, and then figure out where you're going to spend your time. It sounds, again, very basic, but a lot of people miss the wood for the trees. So I would say, like, keep a focus on the math of it, and don't get carried away with a lot of the noise, because brands at every stage, in every category, at every price point, know best what they need to do, right? And the answer is unfortunately not the same. So stay close to that truth. I think that's important.
That's great. I think all the 3 points of the advice, right? And as mostly in life, like, things might sound simple, but they are not easy, right? And that's saying be hands-on, focus on loyalty, and be quite diligent on numbers. I think that's a great advice. We have a couple of minutes, folks. I will hand it over for the questions, please.
Hello. Ma'am, thank you so much for coming here. I am the founder of printmind.in, a D2C gifting brand. And as a founder, we keep optimizing checkouts in our Shopify store. So my question is, like, Shopify is having all the data. So Shopify is going to launch a checkout, his own checkout in future. Like, we are using third-party checkouts, maybe. I won't name the checkouts. But Shopify can do it in a better way because he's having all the data. So
we're going to run us out of business. But yeah, anyway, please.
Checkout is very important to Shopify. Shopify is checkout, checkout is Shopify, is what we say internally. But we are the first to appreciate if the merchant appreciates some value being added on checkout that we are not able to match. The good news is we just put out a solve with a couple of partners in market, including Razorpay. I think their solve literally went live last night. Yeah. So please go and check it out on your admin. I think it's only going to get better and better. It's a dynamic market. I'm sure what we offer today will not be enough tomorrow, and hopefully we'll keep matching your expectations. But we care a lot about our checkout, but we also care about what the merchant really wants, and we're trying to match that all the time.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah.
One last question.
Very quick one.
Hi, my name is Kinshuk, and I represent a brand called Lazo. We are a D2C fashion brand. So we are basically facing issue with product discoverability. So like 80% of sales, our sales comes from only 1 to 2 products. So I want to know how can we, better in our product discoverability.
This might need a longer conversation, Kichuk, but I feel like you have to ask yourself, where is that 80% sale coming from? Oftentimes, founders will spend on a landing page on performance for a product, right? So then you have your answer right there. If you're going to spend all your money on one particular SKU and have returns there, but you're not really spending on building the brand awareness for the overall collection, then you're going to have that skewed answer. And by the way, it may be the right strategy for you right now till you get into a cycle of repeats, depending on what category you're in. But I would go back to how you're spending your performance versus how you're generating organic traffic. What is the split? And what are you going to do to move that mix? Right? But if you're going to put a landing page out and spend money on it, you are going to see 80% of your sales from 2 SKUs, right?
Thank you. So, sorry, you can take the question offline. We are running out of time. Thank you, Bharti. Thanks.
I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm
she's
happy
around.
to
You can
answer
please
any
ask the
questions.
question. Thank you, Bharti. It has been an amazing discussion.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time. Thanks a lot.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone,
Thank
for
you,
listening
everyone.
patiently.
Bye.
Thank you so much, Bharti ma'am. Thank you. Yes, now I'm audible. Thank you. Thank you so much, Bharti ma'am. That was a masterclass par none. So as we get ready for the next session, right? I know a lot of you were here for Aman Gupta's session, and he kept alluding to a lot of founders and their experiences on the tank. So it's only prudent that we end the day, our final panel discussion, with some of the folks who were able to swim with the sharks and emerge victorious from the tank. I would love to get sorted for the next session. I see the panel is here and ready. Please join me in welcoming on stage Simran Khara, founder of Koparo, Aditya Khanna, co-founder of Assembly, Danish Chawla, co-founder of Find Your Kicks, Pratik Kedia, founder of Wise Life, Sulay Lavsi, founder of Bummer, and also please welcome on stage Sagar Saxena, Senior Director, Account Management at Razorpay, to facilitate the session.
That's not possible,
Long day, but this is the final session, and I think we've got the best for the last is what I'd probably say. So thank you, folks, for joining and giving us time. I think you people don't need any introductions per se. And that's why I'd probably, want to skip and, jump right to it. So for today's session, we would want to, probably divide it in 3 parts and try and maybe cover very quickly, some of the aspects around, the experience that these people had being tankerpreneurs, and what's the motivation and the why behind their journey, and try and see if, we can get some meaningful insights for the group which is here out there. So maybe just jumping right into it and talking about what's the what's probably the why for people to join or do something as crazy as going to a television show and probably raising funds or maybe pitching. So I'd probably start with Simran, you, and you come from a background which is in the media industry, like a lot of people would be knowing. So does that had any role to play in terms of you figuring out that, hey, I want to do this, and how does that impact the overall mindset? Is it something that you feel you would have done otherwise as well, and the overall experience around that?
I mean, certainly my years in media, and I spent quite a few between Star, Disney, and then Hotstar, have shaped what I believe is the power of the medium, right? So even today, with the amount of digital consumption there is, even today, it is TV which has unparalleled reach, right? Also, it is the fastest way to tell your story in long-form content on a large screen, which is far more engaging than using, just, performance advertising. So I think the fact that I worked in TV probably just made me believe that this is a very powerful medium. But of course, even if you haven't, had that kind of experience, it's very few shows that celebrate entrepreneurship the way Shark Tank does. And if you want to kind of go out there and tell your story, which frankly all consumer brands, that's really what you live for. You want to engage with people at a large scale, at one shot, and you have an opportunity to tell your story. There's probably 2 shows out there. There's probably Big Boss, and then there is, Shark Tank. So you kind of pick.
And the importance of maybe getting to a certain level, before, going out and raising funds. And what was going on in your mind when you, you both decided to, kind of do this? And does that have a role that, we've proven ourselves a little bit and then we are going into it? And any specific message that you would have for the entire group?
Hello. Yeah, so for me personally, I've been a Shark Tank fan since childhood. Like, that was the ultimate dream for me when I started my brand also. एक subconscious में होता है कि अगर वहाँ चले गए तो बना दिया. So that was always there. For us, especially, we tried for season 2 also. But for some reason, either our story was not that well knit, either our numbers were not good for whatever reason. we were not selected in season 2. But we went home, we worked on it. I sat with my team, we thought, ki yaar, Shark Tank, it's not just about your business, it's not just about your numbers, it's more about the story, it's more about what you are offering, what is the core of your business. So I think we put that story in place and we went again, and next time we did phenomenal. We were loved by all the sharks, we were offered deals from all the sharks. So that was a great booster for me personally, for my employees. Like I see my employees, my team, motivated every day. They, they also boost our brand to their relatives, to the customers. So I think that's very essential. Of course, it's a great validation, and it has given us a lot of boost in sales and everything.
Yeah, in fact, my wife also, uses the portable yoga mat. So I do understand the immense kind of thing. And even, I think in Aman's session, he kind of pointed this out. So I'm sure that the crowd would definitely, want to know more about it. But maybe I'd probably take a segue quickly to come to Aditya. And Aditya, I think I'm referring to your, LinkedIn post where, you kind of called it out that, this is not a zero-sum game, and a lot of people feel that it's a zero-sum game. You were in a very unique position that, it was a face-off with a competitor brand. I mean, quite honestly, I would have been, shitting my pants that, this is something that I have to do. It's fairly difficult, but I think, would love to understand what and how has that experience been, and how do you perceive, this thing, which is what you even narrated from your LinkedIn post?
Yeah, no, very similar reasons that, it's a great platform for visibility. So, when you're a consumer founder, you want to get a shot at, reaching a lot of people and putting yourself out there. I think the matchup format was interesting. We got a call from them saying that, there's this one other brand that is bigger and larger than you guys are, and we typically want one person or one brand in the category. So, they probably have a free run to get on the platform. And if you'd like to explore it, then, a matchup format is an interesting way to, create space for you. I think, you want to take those half chances. You know that the narrative when you're pegged against somebody, another brand doing 3-4 times your revenue is tricky. But you want to take those chances and, and get a shot at getting that visibility. So I think the point of the post really was that, we are in an industry, unlike a lot of tech industries where it's winner takes all, there's one or two people who dominate and everybody else kind of just fades away. I think consumer brands, I think one of the cool things about it is that it is more democratic. You can have 5, 7, 8 different strong brands that are being built, and you own your niche, and each one of those brands can be several hundred crores in revenue, and they're doing good, right? So I think that was the I think that was the intent, that it's not about the narrative that a TV show kind of tries projecting, but it's also about it's about doing what you're doing and doing it well. So I think that was the thought behind that.
That's actually very well put. And maybe I'll come to Danish for for this one, the biggest sneakerhead in the room. I was just chatting with him backstage to try and know more about sneakers, and he just told me the price point that his shoes that he's wearing right now are at, not the retail one. He got them on the retail bit, but that was pretty amazing. So I mean, obviously it's a fairly unique sector that you are in. And how was your experience in the tank?
The experience at the tank is pretty exciting, and the biggest hurdle that we faced in the tank was the massive influx of interest that we got after the show got aired. So basically, if you can increase your operational capabilities, and if you can get ready before the growth happens, I think that could be very, very helpful for you when you get outside of the tank. Plus, once all these highly successful entrepreneurs validate your idea or validate what you're doing and put in funds in you, so the expectations of the people or the existing customers also go high. So I think that is how our experience has been. It has been very, very good. We have got great validation, great traction from when we got out of the tank. So this is all about our experience.
Oh, great. And I think, Sule, I'll have to come to you for, for this one. I mean, it's great experiences that people have shared, and I'm sure that you would be having a very similar one. But I just want to maybe, throw a curveball and maybe ask you, something which is slightly different. I mean, we all have, seen how you negotiate. And I think people were admiring, even I think some of the folks, some of the entrepreneurs, investors were also admiring that, this guy just stood his ground for 0.5%, equity, and, being founders, we do understand how important, that 0.5% is. And how important is it for, a founder to kind of be prepared in terms of negotiating skills as well, if you are actually going out there, in front of, on the TV to kind of, raise funds?
No, thanks, Abhishek. I think so. We probably, I mean, it was a fairly, as a lot of people backstage have also been saying, it was a fairly infamous or a famous episode. A lot of shit went down in that episode.
A lot of doglapan happened.
Yeah, a lot of stuff happened there. You probably mentioned the least recognizable one of them all. But no, I mean, I think yeah, negotiation is probably like an inherent capability. I would rather like to believe for most of the entrepreneurs out here. I mean, I think especially in a time when lot of founders, lot of entrepreneurs, likes of all of us, are bleeding cash. I think not just negotiating from like financial POV, but like just from what potentially should be right for the business. And I think that should typically be the most critical element to play for. And I think for me, quite frankly, in the tank, a lot of it is like a blur, because you're like so much full of adrenaline at that point in time. And if you ask me like minute by minute what actually happened, I probably don't remember. So in the moment, we did what felt right for the business, and I think it's got a decent outcome, I would say. And I think I continue practicing that throughout the business after the tank as well.
Actually, this is something that a lot of people kind of resonate with, that maybe I don't remember what happened, but I just went with the flow. So I think there is one more important thing that a lot of investors take into consideration, like when at Marshot, when we also try and, see if we can help founders, we try and not probably judge just the business, but major part of the judgment is, part of maybe understanding what motivates the founder or how the founder is. I want to throw this to everyone, maybe one by one, but what is, your version of how a founder can prepare well before they face the music? Because at the end of the day, it is something which is where the moment you're actually, going in front of any investor, they would know anything and everything about you. It's a decent enough time that people invest in terms of evaluation. So what can the people do to make it slightly better, to make themselves be prepared? And maybe I'd probably throw this again to you, that if you have any insights or anything.
Yeah, no, I would say so. I'll probably not say this simply from the perspective of Shark Tank, because I think that's more of a physical interaction in terms of when you're actually pitching in front. And, the decision making is also fairly live in those sort of 45 minutes to about an hour or so that you're in the tank. And obviously your other sets of fundraising, say from angel investors or venture capital, etc., is a very, very different process, obviously, than Shark Tank. You're going through multiple sets of pitches and evaluating a bunch of numbers before that actually happens. So I would say there's stark differences between the two. But I mean, for me personally, I feel that being a solid salesman for your brand is probably like the most critical element that's at play here. If you can, I think, potentially do that, I don't think there can be anything that can kind of go wrong or can stop you. Obviously, I think that's the central idea is what I would say. Obviously, there's far more deeper things that go behind it, but yeah.
Very, very good point. Being a core salesperson for your brand. Simran?
Yeah, and very specifically, in the Shark Tank context, right? I think sometimes we get very carried away thinking ki there's so much drama in that pitch, and that girl or that boy said this so nicely, or they did this amazing, histrionics on stage, which really make their pitch stand out. But no, that's not what made their pitch stand out. It's always the clarity that you have about your own business. You are in the tank for about an hour and a half or so on average. And you must know your business in and out, like every number, from your AOVs to your CACs, to your cohorts, to your margins, to various scenarios where you were 3 months before, 6 months before, 3 months later, 6 months later. That's really important, right? If you will know your business very well and you're able, because it is still a pitch. I think we sometimes get very carried away with the television of it. Trust me, spend the least time on that, because the Sony team, once you are in the final audition round, will anyway refine your pitch and get it to TV ready. They will figure out how to make Bummer sexy, they will figure out how to make Koparo sexy. No, but you know your own business, so be really on top of it. So I would say the first is get into a position of clarity on your own business, and also on the sharks. For any negotiation, right, you have to be in a position of strength. You have to understand which are the sharks that you value, right? Whose check would you want? What are the terms you're willing to take that at? Your mental models for that should be ready, because it is live decision making, like he said, right? So if you're prepared with both of these, chances are you'll have a superlative pitch, which will convert. Spend less time on trying to perfect the television drama. वो हो जाएगा. वो उनका काम है.
Yeah, so I think, Simran, I'm just getting the sense of maybe what a lot of people are telling about you, that you were, and I think this was quoted by all the investors as well, that you were perhaps one of the best, founders to appear. And I think people now know why, that you have a very clear, crisp strategy to prepare. But maybe I'll just, come to Aditya for, his views on this one.
Yeah, no, I mean, very similar. It helped that we were doing an institutional fundraise at a similar time. So anyway, you're on top of a lot of the numbers and metrics that, anybody is going to dig into your business. But, the best you can do as a founder is to prepare well, specific to the tank, know your pitch well, be authentic. It's very hard to broadcast when, there's so many questions coming your way, to have a made-for-TV answer, because people are digging into your reasons and what you're doing and what you think about it. So I think the best you can do is be authentic, be prepared. How ultimately the response that you get is sometimes not in your control. We'd all love to have the kind of narrative that Simran was able to get, and the kind of feedback she got. But I think sometimes there are things that click which are also not in your control.
Yeah.
It's you're getting a lot of questions, and it can go in certain ways that you can't control, right? So yeah, I mean, it's quite possible that there is founder A that just has a better personality on screen, and that can resonate well. So I think it's probably hard for all founders to crack that. So I think what you can do best is probably know your business well and project why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah, so I think if I were to call it out as embrace the chaos, I think that would be maybe a fair assumption, because a lot can go wrong. So maybe Prateek, you would want to take a stab at this one.
Yeah. So I was actually speaking to a lot of founders outside who either did not make it to the tank in the last seasons, or they are a bit nervous because they think, yaar, इस टाइप का ब्रांड ऑलरेडी आ चुका है. सो लेट्स टेक एन एग्जांपल ऑफ वेदर इनरवेयर और लगेज. तो जहाँ पर 2 ब्रांड्स आ चुके हैं, तो तीसरा ब्रांड probably will not be very motivated to go there. So my advice to those people is that it's not really कि आपको सेलेक्ट नहीं किया जाएगा. It's more about how you stitch your story. ठीक है, तो आप डिफरेंशिएट खुद को कैसे कर रहे हो, आपके पास स्ट्रेंथ्स क्या है, आपके जो कंपेटिटर्स हैं उनकी वीकनेसेस क्या है. So you have to, because lakhs of people apply on Shark Tank every year, but there are only 150 pitches, 100 to 150 pitches, which get live. Yeah. So to get selected in those 150 pitches, you have to think like Sony, कि वो किसको select करेंगे, वो किसकी story उनको अच्छी लगेगी, TRP क्या होगा. So you have to think very creatively, and at the same time, as Simran mentioned, your strategy and your clarity should be at place if That's not there. Usually क्या होता है, as we entered the Shark Tank, we were on the set for the first time. जब वो गेट खुलता है, we saw the sharks for the first time. अब मुझे दिख रहा है कि मेरे सामने 10,000 करोड़ बैठा है, ठीक है, मेरे ऊपर कम से कम 20 लाइट्स आ रही है, and I went blank for a second. So at that point you have to rely on your instincts a lot and your preparation. So at that point एक बारी मैं सब भूल गया था, but then फिर मैं जल्दी से regain करी अपनी energy और किसी तरीके से वो speech दी, and it went great.
It went great.
So that was because of the clarity and strategy that we had been working on for the past, 3 months or 6 months. And also, as Simran had mentioned, कि वहाँ पर काफ़ी ज़्यादा intimidating भी होता है. तो वो सारी चीज़ें preparation से ही आती है. वो लोग चेंज कर देते हैं लास्ट मोमेंट पे थोड़ा सा आपका स्पीच को कि आपकी पिच कैसे जाएगी, बट वो आपकी स्पीच में से ही बेटर पार्ट्स निकालते हैं ना. इट्स नॉट लाइक कि दे विल चेंज योर एंटायर पिच, सो यू हैव टू बी वेरी वेल प्रिपेयर्ड.
Yeah, makes sense actually. A lot of good insights, and I think I'll probably come back on the rebuttals as well. But maybe Danish, you want to take a stab at this one?
Yeah, I think all of the points have been covered by everybody. So this is the main point, that the only thing you can control is that 3-minute speech that you're gonna give, which is also gonna be polished. But mostly you will just have to focus at everything. You'll have to be very, very aware about your business, very aware about your strategies, because after that it's not in your control, I guess. The conversation is going to flow and you're going to be asked some things which you are not expecting. So I think if you're fully aware about all the metrics, about how you're working, what are your growth plans, how you're planning to expand, so I think that is going to be very, very helpful for you, and that is what works in the tank, I guess.
Okay, so I wanted to probably ask you one more question, which was about the community aspect of it, specifically because sneakerheads have like a lot of community, and maybe you also spoke about the Shark Tank experience that you have to be prepared for that explosive growth. You also, I think, kind of got 6x social media growth in terms of the community being much bigger. So. How does it help, and how do you prepare for it? Because that's clearly one insight that you have, and I think people would love to hear it from you.
Right. So we've always led this business as a community-led business. So the social media growth has been very, very, very transformative for us, and it has made us realize that our audience and our community is not just our audience who we have to sell products. At the end, we're dealing in a higher ticket product, and we're not just selling sneakers. We're curating an experience for our audience and our community. So social media helps us amplify that experience for our customers and control that narrative for them. And again, we know that we're living in a very content-driven world these days. So I think if we gather the insights of our consumers and give them the content, or give them some behind the scenes as to what is happening in the community and how things are running, it really, really helped us build brand trust and brand loyalty. And if you really build genuine and authentic connections, it will definitely lead to some great word of mouth marketing and organic growth, which is unparalleled when compared to any channels you're using for growth, because customer acquisition costs have touched the roof these days. So I think organic growth through social media has been very, very transformative for us.
Very interesting, actually. I wanted to, in the interest of time, kind of cover one more topic, which is about, fundraising. And Sulay, firstly, congratulations. I think you've very recently raised one more round of investment post the show. So, wanted to maybe better understand how does the experience plays out. In front of the TV, post that, does things change, and how does it help you in, raising funds after that? Because I think that's the aftermath which a lot of people would be, would be curious to know about.
So, I would say that Shark Tank definitely does give you that uplift. Probably from like a numbers POV, I think that uplift can last. I think for most of us would have been different, maybe right from a couple of months to few months, or that's what I would assume at least. For us, it was probably like a few months in terms of the revenue uplift. But I think the brand awareness and the brand uplift that probably it gives you, has a much more longer lasting impact is what at least I believe. And I think that definitely does play a very, very critical role when you're meeting new investors for your fundraise after that. I think because there's already a certain, most people or most entrepreneurs would probably be amazing at building a business, but may struggle building a brand, right? And I think probably that awareness kind of Shark Tank gives you. So maybe you can kind of balance out brand and business hand in hand when you approach investors probably after the tank. So I think that really does help a lot.
And I think same question to Aditya as well. Congratulations again on the recent fundraise. And again, the same thing, that how is it different, pitching to, I mean, when the world is watching versus pitching in closed doors?
Yeah, no, very different. In the tank, you're talking to angel investors. They're looking at your business with a very with a slightly more early stage lens. I'd say the institutional raising is a lot more deliberated. It's a lot more deeper conversations. There is typically institutional investors in the consumer space have strong theses of what sort of sectors they want to back, and they like staying within that thesis. Whereas the angels could take calls which are a little more emotional. I would say that they could be a little more impulsive. The check sizes are much smaller. But overall, I think in our case, the Tango helped because I think post the airing, generally the business is in momentum, right? I mean, one is of course the order spikes that you see, and depending on the type of AOV and narrative, it could differ. But generally the momentum it generates in terms of customer recall or team members wanting, prospects wanting to join you, or there are a lot of different partners or SaaS partners that are more open to working with you because there's a little more legitimacy, that the company or the brand is perceived to have. So I think that momentum overall is good for the business, which I think a lot of institutional investing is about riding on momentum. So I think it's about driving that. So that's how our experience was.
Sure. I think maybe one last kind of segue question to you, Simran, about it. See, there are some sectors which are considered very hot sectors. Like fintech, for that matter, is very hot sector. I want to understand, when you're raising funds, I mean, inside the tank or outside, how does maybe the sector plays, it is different when it is happening inside or when it is happening outside? And specifically, does the tank help, like Aditya mentioned, that, the angels at times might actually write a check, not on the basis of any specific domain. So just want to maybe get your views on that.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for any institutional investor, like I'm talking about outside of the tank, is always about the where to play, right? So the category matters a lot. If fintech is the choice or the flavor for a set of VCs, then companies number 5, 6, 7, 8 will also find it easy to raise funds. If home care is not of choice, even if you're number 1, you will find it harder. So you do have to do your homework and understand that. I've learned the hard way in this journey that, in the investing world, you have to go with the flow. So you cannot push water up a hill because then you will dilute excessively. You will take the wrong price. You will feel cheated. You have to work with people who are like-minded, who believe in your sector and in your vision. Then the rest of it is commercials. The rest of it is sales, frankly, right? To say, okay, fine, how much of my company will you take? How much money will you give me? That will always get figured out. But you cannot sell conviction. Conviction has to be, they have to have it. Some people operate on borrowed conviction, but it's better if you find a set of people who have their own.
That's actually very insightful. Prateek, you have any last comments about it? Because I do understand that the sector play might still be something which is relevant for you as well. Because some hot sectors usually get a lot of limelight, and like Simran mentioned, company number 8, 9, 10 would also get investments pretty easily.
I don't have much insight on this because we have not been in business for so long. So I haven't seen those ups and downs. But I think people do say कि VC world में भी काफी, things are hot and things are cold.
Yeah.
So उनका खुद का फंडिंग ऊपर नीचे चलता रहता है, तो स्टार्टअप्स का तो चलेगा ही.
That's also true. So I think we are kind of out of time, but I just wanted to maybe do one last thing, and this was something that would be super interesting. So I think world have actually seen you all answering questions, but for a change, if you would like to maybe ask a question to anybody amongst the panelists, I mean maybe we do this fun game that if you have any questions for anyone here. Maybe, I mean, like I'd probably, start with Danesh. I think the fun one that I wanted to ask was that what's the maximum cost of the sneaker that has been sold on your platform? And I know the answer already, but yeah, I still wanted to ask this one.
Yeah, so I think the most expensive sneaker that we've sold has costed 7.5 lakhs. So it is obnoxiously high, I agree. But then it is a very limited edition sneaker.
It appreciates more than gold at times.
Definitely. Yeah,
पेमेंट Razorpay से हुई थी क्या?
no, it was a part payment. It took almost 1 or 1.5 months to sell that pair itself because it costs around 7.5 lakhs.
Wow.
But again, like very, very, very limited. Just 2,000 pairs exist.
Wow.
And collectors like collecting these kind of shoes. So yeah, this has been the highest.
Is there a discount for people sitting here?
Yeah, I mean, probably 5 to 10,000.
That's very critical, actually.
Yeah, anybody can take a stab at the thing.
I would like to ask Aditya, were you told, were you asked कि we are going to do that versus brand thing on Shark Tank before they did this? Can you?
Yeah, no, most definitely. I think if we had said no, we probably wouldn't have been in the tank. So that was something that we knew we were punching above our weight. But no, I mean, I think they gave us the option saying that, one category, one brand is typically what it should be. But I think it worked out, fine. I think generally a match-off episode got good traction. There was general curiosity about it. And, what we've seen is few months after the episode airs, people forget whether you won, lost. I mean, they'll just remember
you're just featured.
They just remember you as having been featured, right? So I think it worked out fine, bro. But they were, I'm glad they told us. It would have been quite a surprise if we land up in the tank with a pure brand. So, but yeah, they did tell us a couple of months before.
Any more questions? Nobody wants to ask any scandalous question, is it? Oh yeah, Aditya has one.
No scandalous question, but just as a founder, I'm always curious, on that tipping point in the business which led to the momentum, right? Like I'll tell you, in our case, when we launched with soft luggage and didn't see too much traction, and then COVID happened, so we had to get through that time. So for us, the tipping point was, 2-3 years in, COVID receding, hard luggage coming into the forefront, and we started seeing that momentum and traction. So I'd just love to hear what that tipping, because when you start, it's headwind. But, so for us, it was 2-3 years into it that the momentum started. So I'm just curious about how it played out for you guys.
Sure. I'll probably start. I mean, I do believe there is a moment like that for brands. I've seen it probably. But for Bummer, I believe that probably we've not seen that moment as yet. So, I mean, we started after COVID in the first place. So we've not really seen like a pre-COVID era ourselves. But at the same time, I think that not overnight, but that over a period of few months, that sudden jump or the gradual increase that you should be seeing, I don't think that time's come for us. Maybe we keep iterating and keep finding what that piece of the puzzle can be for us, but probably it's not there for us as yet.
I mean, for us, it was actually Shark Tank. It's very difficult to cut through if you're doing digital advertising for dishwashing liquids and detergents. Nobody's watching those ads. Nobody's creating those categories digitally. So for us, the night we went on TV, we were like top 5 in every single category we play on. Beating Unilever, Reckitt, P&G. And yeah, the legal notices haven't stopped coming. So that was definitely my tipping point, yeah.
For me, I think there have been multiple tipping points because when I started, it was sort of an experimental business that I was starting, and we made like 200 units first time, we got sold out. That was a tipping point. We did 800 units, we got sold out. That was a tipping point. So I think tipping points, like we have to find, as founders, we have to find those tipping points which keep us motivated, which keep us running. It can be a good conversation with your dad also. It can be a very good conversation with your investor also. I think.
So I think the tipping point for us was Shark Tank as well, because the concept of reselling sneakers is very, very alien to everybody. I think half of the people in this room as well would say कि भाई जूते कैसे resell होते हैं, and that is what my father used to tell me at some point. So I think that kind of validation that we got in the tank and the kind of traction really, really helped us work even more harder on this, because we saw that gap that we could fill in the community.
That's very nice. Actually, for fintech, the answers are always, regulatory and compliance driven or government driven, demonetization, UPI. So it's very easy, question from a fintech point of view. But glad to actually, hear the things. Any other last questions? Good. Do we have time for any audience questions? Maybe we'll take one or two. Oh, awesome.
Hi, this is Smith here. Thank you so much for your valuable insights. I have a question towards the hiring side in the initial phase of 0 to 1. So what is that point when you all feel that this is the right time that I can now, go, you are working solo or with your co-founder, and now is the right time that we can go ahead and hire? Because half of your money is always sitting either with your suppliers or you've kept it for marketing. What is that point that comes in and you're like, okay, now I can offload something onto my hires? So I want to understand when is that point that, okay, we can go ahead.
Any takers?
I think as soon as you enter the execution stage of your startup, you have to hire. Matlab, you can't be running your business on your own. Matlab, till what point? Right? So, जैसे आपका strategy बन गया, अगर आप pre-seed raise कर रहे हो, आपने raise कर लिया, तो you should get on to hiring and you should start building your team.
Bootstrapped है.
Bootstrapped है तो भी. If your idea is in place, let's say if you're a D2C founder, आप जैसे आपका product आ गया, ठीक है, आपने procurement कर दिया या order place कर दिया, you should start hiring left, right and center, because it will take you time to find those right people to do the right jobs for you.
Thank you so much.
Anybody wants to add anything to it? Actually, I have a very, anecdotal point that I wanted to add for this one. And this is regarding, so I've been part of Razorpay for about 10 years. And the first thing that Harshil and Shashank kind of did was, call up a bunch of people from the same college, same community. We've been friends and try to, get those people in. And if they share the mission with you, you might actually end up making a stellar founding team. And that helps you in a long way. And even if you are bootstrapped, you can probably try that. So that worked for Razorpay at least. So wanted to share that.
So my question is कि जब आप Shark Tank में जाते हैं तो आपका final audition round is somewhere around August, right? आपका shoot time is September, December, and the live streaming time is Feb, March. इस duration में the company has grown a lot, right? तो आपका जो आस्क रहता है ऑन द डे वन व्हेन यू वर फिलिंग अप द फॉर्म, और जब आप शो हो गया है शूट, और या फिर जब पब्लिश हो रहा है, तो तब तक वैल्यूएशन बहुत ज़्यादा चेंज हो जाती है आई गेस. तो हाउ डू यू गाइज मैनेज दैट कि मतलब उस और जो आपने फिल करा होता है उसी वैल्यूएशन पे आप रेस करते हो, या फिर बाहर से आपको अलग ऑफर्स आने स्टार्ट हो जाते हैं व्हेन इट्स लाइव ऑन टीवी? तो वो ट्रांजिशन फ्रॉम दिस स्केल टू दिस स्केल, how do you guys manage that?
So I'll take that one. Yeah, I mean, so there's two parts to it. Obviously, जो deal अगर आप Shark Tank में करके आते हो, वो तो आप उसी value पे करोगे, क्योंकि those are the terms that you have sort of verbally said, and then obviously उसका diligence होगा, and it will take time. This is no different from any institutional round where आपको term sheet आएगी, उसके बाद भी थोड़ा समय लगेगा पैसे आने के पहले. But obviously उसके बाद जब आप raise करोगे, तो उस टाइम अगर आपके बिजनेस का मेट्रिक्स बदल गए हैं, स्केल बदल गया है और बदला होगा, then obviously you'll raise on different multiples. But the Shark Tank round will have to happen on what you said. Not really, about September, October. Yeah.
Also,
it's pretty, I mean, 2 months. Yeah.
आप स्टेज पे जाने से पहले भी अपनी वैल्यूएशन चेंज कर सकते हो. देयर इज नो, मतलब इट्स लाइक अ एक्चुअल रियल इन्वेस्टर मीटिंग. तो कुछ भी हार्ड एंड फास्ट रूल नहीं होता.
I have one question. I'm Gaurav from Earth. So my question is with respect to preparation around logistics and operations, because once you come live, then your entire sales spikes up. So what kind of preparation you guys did, or maybe some kind of misses happened, and what were the learnings? What were the best practices that you guys can share with us in terms of best preparations? Because we are in a stage where we are filling up form, maybe we are shortlisted. So just wanted to learn about those things.
So I think securing funding from the tank is one part, but even if your pitch gets aired, you're going to get great marketing and great influx. So I think if you develop an MVP before that, where you can redirect the customers to, or you can probably hire a couple of people for customer service, all those areas, that could be really helpful, because you do get a window between your pitch getting aired and the actual time when you actually pitched. So I think planning that, creating an MVP and hiring necessary people could be very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, there's almost a 2 months, could be a 2 months lag between the actual pitch and when it gets recorded. So you kind of can anticipate that this is coming. And I think also when they decide when to schedule it, they'll give you like a week, 10 days heads up. So you kind of know that it's coming. So I think you're just preparing accordingly.
Hi Danish, I am Harsh, and I saw your Instagram page. It's just amazing the way you're playing with the other brand. It's amazing. My question is, डर नहीं लगता है, मतलब डायरेक्टली अपन नाइकी का ब्रांड, नाइकी का लोगो यूज़ कर रहे हैं हर रील में, और मतलब क्या उसके पीछे लॉजिक है?
So basically Nike and Adidas, they have no restrictions on using their brand logos or anything. So the products that we deal in come under the hype culture. So these products are only sold because they are very hyped and they are very limited. So Nike also has the same thesis behind it, that if the hype goes, then the products are not going to be sold. So there's no restriction on using any kind of logos or anything.
Okay, thank you so much.
I think we'll just take the last one. This one. The CA sir, I remember.
Thank you. Hi, it's Amit Jagya from EdZep. It's a training platform for commerce. So we train candidates for various international qualifications, upskilling, and then we do placements. So my question is, last year I was in a company which applied for Shark Tank. They have strong fundamentals. You all said like lakhs of applications come and only 150 get selected. So is it more TRP driven from Sony's side, or is it the fundamentals they look at? So what exactly they are looking at?
I mean, in my view, what worked for us is low expectations, right? Like we applied in, season 2 didn't work out. Business would have grown by season 3, but I think there are some variables that you can't control. There is randomness in the process. It is a subjective process. I think in our year, what helped is that our category was in radar. Maybe somebody there thought that a match-off episode will be fun, so we got an in, right? So I think these are things that you can't really control so much. I mean, you can build a solid business, you can apply, you can put your best story forward, but I think beyond that, I mean, even if you have your recording, it doesn't mean that it's going to be aired as well, right? So there are just so many variables in it that I think in our case, every round that we cleared, that's when we raised the expectations of the next round. Otherwise, we forgot about it. So because it didn't work out the previous year.
I would like to know experience of others also.
I would like to add to this. I think your business has to be good. That is a hygiene check for Shark Tank application. And the TRP and the story is icing on cake to just, get right in.
I think a very healthy mix of entertainment, I would not say entertainment, but I would rather call it more appetizing for the typical consumer of Shark Tank is also a great way to think. I mean, Shark Tank kaun dekh raha hai ghar pe baith ke, right? And like, so obviously from their perspective, it's very critical to make sure that you have a business, you have a healthy business that is very appetizing for the consumers who are sitting at home and watching those episodes as well. So I think a healthy mix of that with a good business is also very, very critical. और उसमें अगर आप pitch में या कहीं पे थोड़ा entertainment add कर देते हो, I mean, it's like a cherry हाँ, it's like cherry on the cake for them probably. Yeah.
I think, thank you so much, and thank you, Tankpreneurs, for this one. Thank you for giving us time. With that, I think we conclude the session. We can just have a picture.
That was an amazing session. What a way to end the day's proceedings. With this, we come to the end of the session for the day. If there's one takeaway for me personally with everything I've heard from founders, investors, operators, leaders in the industry, there really hasn't been a better time to be starting up in India right now. With the sort of talent we have, the talent that's right here in this room, with the sort of interest in investment funding, and with enablers like Razorpay, it won't be too much of a stretch to say that now's a better time than ever to start up. Once again, thank you so much for being here, the 700 odd folks who took time out on a fun Thursday to spend it with us, and the 12,000 plus folks who have tuned in online. Thank you so much, folks. Have a wonderful day ahead. This is your host, Varun, signing off. Thank you.